We began tracking director turnover in around 2015 when we noticed some significant increases. So prior to 2015, we were seeing maybe 5 or 6 a year. And then we started seeing 30, 40. So we'll talk about the library landscape first. We have 257 public libraries. 56% of our libraries are nonprofit libraries, and 44% are municipal libraries. 67% of libraries serve a population of 5,000 or less, so that's the majority of our libraries here in Maine. Since 2019, we have had 257 turnovers at 145 libraries. That's almost 60% of our libraries that have had a director change. And during that time, 28 libraries have had 3 or more director turnovers during a 7-year period. 24% left within the first year, and 58% left within 5 years of taking the job. The green bar on the graph reflects the total turnovers per year, and that remains fairly steady, averaging about 37 a year. The yellow bar reflects the number that left within 1 year, which started at 3 to 4 between 2019 and 20, and then steadily increased to 12 in 2025. And if this trend continues, that means 1 in 4 library directors hired will leave by the end of the first year. The orange bar reflects turnovers that have happened within 5 years, and that has, remained fairly consistent with an average of about 21 per year. Looking at the education level and experience of new hires, we find that 21% have an MLIS degree. 62% are first-time public library directors, and almost 40% have no prior library experience. Looking at director turnover by region for 2019 to 2025, we find that the majority of turnover is happening in the northern part of the state with 117, followed by the southern Maine library region at 74 and the central region with 66. And you'll notice that the turnovers in the northern and southern regions is higher than the number of libraries. And this just means that some of those libraries had multiple director turnovers during that time period. The bar chart on the right shows the turnover by county. And the top 5 counties with the most turnover is Cumberland with 37, York and Hancock both with 30, Aroostook with 20, and Oxford with 19. Looking at 2025, this year, we have had 39 director changes. A little over a third of director changes have been due to retirements, resignations due to board or staff conflict, taking a job at another library, career changes, each represented 18% of the turnover, and leaving to attend college or other personal reasons account for 11% of the turnover. Now, library staffing seems to be a pretty big driving factor in director turnover. We currently have 20 all volunteer-run libraries. A quarter of our libraries are run by a single staff member, which places a strain on operations and obviously it limits capacity. 1 in 4 library directors work fewer hours than their library is open, meaning they rely on volunteers or other staff to cover open hours. And it's encouraging, however, to see that 28% of library directors work more hours than their libraries are open, allowing them time to complete job functions, to attend continuing education meetings and networking opportunities. And then we have 30 libraries that expand hours to accommodate an influx of summer visitors. Library director salaries have been a big factor for a long time in a library's ability to hire and keep library staff. Over 2/3 of directors are paid less than $21 an hour. 36% of libraries do not offer any vacation or sick time. 62% are unable to offer health insurance, and 64% do not offer any sort of retirement plan. So when we look at the key factors contributing to library director turnover, library development has been able to identify some trends leading to director turnover by not just looking at the data, but also data that we have collected over the past few years by way of doing interviews with outgoing directors and information we've gathered from board members. So low pay and limited benefits was at the top of the list. Libraries struggle with lower wages compared to other municipal leadership roles, part-time hours requiring additional employment. So, there aren't enough hours at the library, so you need a second job to get somewhere near full-time. Limited or lack of benefits that hinder staff well-being and retention. And these all point to the much larger issue with a lack of sustainable funding. And collectively, it hinders a library's ability to attract and retain qualified staff. Unsustainable workload and role expectations play a big part. Unrealistic expectation from boards or municipalities as to what the job entails, and balancing part-time pay with full-time responsibilities. This is really compounded by inadequate staffing levels, which means many libraries are having to rely on volunteers to run the library. And as we all know, directors wear many hats, from administrators to cataloging, program planner, janitor. There's never enough time. So inadequate staffing levels also play a large part in a director's inability to do continuing education or networking, or getting outside the library to build those community relationships. And lastly, increased community needs have placed a huge stress on library directors and their staff. And then board and governance challenges. So role confusion between boards and directors often leads to micromanaging and conflict, board turnover and lack of training, and expectation that the library will do more with less year after year. And I know I can speak for all of the state library in saying thank you for all you do for your communities, and thank you for showing up today. Now I will turn it over to Marika.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. I think maybe keep your slides handy because I'm guessing people might have questions about some of the data because it's a lot to take in. We thought we would use a little bit of time to have an open discussion, and Jenny and I came up with a handful of questions to get us started. But before we do that, I don't see any questions in the chat. So please feel free, raise your hand or put a question in the chat, and Jenny can take those first, and then we'll move into the open discussion. Any questions or comments? I can relate a lot to the issues you listed as a comment. hold that thought because we'll use that during the discussion. Okay, no specific questions?
Well, if they pop up, you can always put
Oh,
it.
here, Parker has one. Can you see it now, Jenny?
I have, and I haven't actually. It's an interesting thought. We haven't looked at that angle of it yet, but that's actually something we can do.
Mhm. Other questions? Okay, well, if they come up as we're talking, throw them in the chat. Oh, it's of course, as soon as I say that. Okay, so I'll read the question. Oh, so solutions. Um, Catherine is asking, any solutions or hope to provide? We're actually going to turn that into the part of the discussion and ask for your all thoughts. So hold that one also. I would be interested in knowing if the folk that leave after 1 year have a library degree or not.
And that's a mixed bag. It's some do and some don't. More don't.
More do not have a library degree.
Right. And that's because less than 30% of our library directors have a degree. So it makes the majority of those that are leaving or do not have a degree.
Mhm. Do most nonprofits have advisory or governing boards?
Most nonprofits have governing boards, although you see the advisory board more with the municipal libraries.
Mhm. Although there are some hybrids, which I think is also confusing to the libraries.
Mhm.
Um, so here's one. Digging in more to retired, what about soon to be retiring? Has there been any effort to forecast if we're going to see a sudden change in coming retiring directors? I'm thinking more of those folks who have been in their position for decades.
Yeah, we actually that retirements is really what kicked off the big the mass exodus of library directors here in Maine. Back when we first started noticing, around 2012, and most of that was related to retirements. People who had been in their positions here in Maine for a long time. That's something different that we don't see now that we were seeing back then when I first started back in, well, a long time ago, 98. A lot of people had been in their positions for years and years and years. You didn't see a lot of new people. And that kind of led us up to where we were around 2012. And a lot of those people started to retire.
Mhm. There's a kind of a follow-up question. I do not see this getting any easier in the next few years, but do you expect the next few years to push those numbers even further? Does Maine have a higher rate of retirements than other states?
Well, and I will say that some of those that are retired, they re-retired. So what we're seeing is a lot of the people that are coming in and taking those library jobs are taking them as second careers. So they've already retired from another profession and now they're going to be the library director. So with the pressure of being a library director, I think they find that they're already retired. This is really hard, not really what I wanted. We have seen, we've heard that many a times. So you have people re-retire.
Mhm. Jenny, do you have anything to share about COVID and its potential impact, its aftermath?
Oh yeah, there was definitely an uptick. Definitely an uptick. People were really challenged at that time, and a lot of the people, when we saw a lot of retirements that year, or people that just went to other professions, say this is stressed me out. This is enough. I'm almost to retirement. I'm going to be there. This is it. We're done. We heard that a lot. Just like the ones that move to another job, like a non-library job, a lot of them say, well, I can't afford to work at the library anymore. I need a job that pays me. And a lot of I mean, that's one thing that happened during the pandemic was the increase in wages, right? Everybody was paying a lot more. And so you could get a job a lot of places that you could earn a lot more than you were getting at your library for a lot less stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So during that time, we started seeing a lot. Oh, Dana, no.
Don't add to the numbers. But I think it kind
Man,
of echoes what Jenny, what you're saying about the salaries and the slides that you had up about the salaries. It's a challenge. And Michelle is asking if you can put up the slide again that graphed out each year.
yep, just let me do that.
And then Parker has another question that I'll read in a sec.
Was it this one or was it this one?
Probably that one. We'll see. So Parker asks, do you see any trends in libraries that are not experiencing high turnover?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, as I'm reading it, I think it is maybe getting at the brainstorming solutions, like if we can see what's working well at other libraries, maybe. But do you see any trends in libraries that are not experiencing high turnover other than pay? Like, do all the ones that aren't experiencing high turnover have good pay and maybe benefits or something? So things that are keeping directors, maybe.
No, no. And I think some of it has to do with there's the reasons that they're leaving are varying, right? So even the ones that are well paid and you know they're the ideal library job, there's still those things that make them leave. So there doesn't seem to be any one thing that we've been able to find that's like, well, here's kind of the ideal situation, and this seems to be working here. And I think that with COVID and now the increased community needs with food insecurity and just the drug pandemic, and I think it's becoming harder and harder, and the job is becoming harder and harder, and the doing more with less concept is not working for people, and it's burning them out. And I think we're at a point where that's not going to get better anytime soon.
There are two questions that are a little similar. I'm also making a note of what you just said because I think that'll help in more discussion. So has there been any tracking of the jobs being filled internally, either in state or from the library? Or are most of them being filled externally, meaning out of state? Did that make sense?
Right. So yeah, we do track out of state. So very few are from out of state. But what we have seen is an increase in promotion from within the library. So somebody who maybe was library assistant or assistant director, we've seen quite a bit of that the last few years. So a lot of promoting from within.
Mhm. And Julie at Madison points out in some libraries, it takes years to actually get to the director position. A person could be close to retirement age before even getting to the director.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there's some more. Let's see. Oh, Julie, I'm never leaving. We're a municipal department with insurance, sick and vacation pay, and 6% retirement match. Everybody needs to apply for Julie's job when she does retire, right? The hour wage is lower than almost every other department head, even those hired after she was. Oh, devaluing skills by governing bodies. Oh, I missed the context for that one. The devaluing of the skills it takes to run a library, I'm thinking. Let's see. Let me look for some more. Here's another question. Do the reasons for directors leaving vary much by size of library? Curious if there's a big difference in all the small libraries versus the larger ones, other than staffing. I suspect it's similar.
I mean, most of the turnover is in the small rural libraries to medium size libraries. The larger libraries, you don't see a lot of turnover.
Mhm.
They have the better benefits, they have the better pay. So you don't see those at the Bangor, the Lewiston, the Auburn, Portland, South Portland, Yarmouth. Those libraries have good pay and good benefits. And which equals a good work-life balance, right? When you've got those things in place. So it's more the medium, smaller size libraries that don't have the benefits, don't have the good pay, that are seeing that change.
Mhm. And Jenny, I think you answered the question, but just in case, do you notice a difference between turnover at municipal or nonprofit libraries?
Yeah, and I hadn't looked at that yet, but I suspect it's probably more in the nonprofit. But they're coming from the municipal side as well. But I have not looked in that and could, because that would be interesting to see as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially given some of the challenges that relate to the board, the board roles. Yeah. Uh, uh, so that's Jenna points out half of the large libraries turned over for the same reasons. Jenny, can you put up this chart that showed where folks go, whether they retire or go to other places?
Oh, that was for.
Okay. Um,
Is that the right chart?
yeah. Stacy has a comment. Someone who actively looked for director positions for several years in Maine, 2019 on. There were so many that the town or the area was intriguing, but the minute I saw the hours, cost of housing, I had to pass. Yeah.
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 Yeah, housing has become a big issue.
Yeah. Uh, any other questions? Okay. Um, Well, since some of these are comments now, let's go ahead and we can keep the questions going, but I'm going to read Heather's and then I'm going to pose a question to the group. Oh, and Melissa, I see you have your hand raised. So after Melissa goes. So Heather says, I'm a retired educator and now I'm the director because I can, in quotes, afford to do this job and came with the skill set of 40 plus years dealing with the three areas of why directors leave. I find my board is clueless and seem to think replacement is going to result in no loss of quality of service, but the board turns over and is a skeleton crew anyway. Board challenges. Yeah, Melissa, go ahead. Do you want to unmute?
Sure, Melissa from Reedfield. I'm just curious how these Maine turnover numbers compare nationally, and is this being seen across the country? And the other thing would be, I love that we have the local control, but I think nationally we have mostly the county-wide systems for libraries, and I'm guessing there's a lot more stability with that kind of a system, really, because we have all these small towns who are reliant, in terms of the municipal libraries anyways, are reliant on those town budget funds, and those are getting squeezed, and I don't know that they will not continue to do so going forward. And so, yeah, I'm not saying we have to go to the countywide system, but I'm just thinking that if Maine is an anomaly in terms of director turnover, nationwide, I just think that part of it might be due to the fact that a county structure offers more, that, there's more places to move within, you can do lateral moves, you can do up and down moves and still have some stability. Whereas here, if I leave here, I'm going to a completely different, I'm learning a whole new board, I'm learning a whole new town management structure, the whole thing, I'm not just getting used to um, a different staff or whatever. There's a lot more instability, I guess.
Yeah, we're somewhat unique here in Maine, because you're right, Melissa. A lot of other states have county systems, which also means that a lot of other states have state aid, and that makes a huge difference to them. Maine is one of only 11 states that does not offer their libraries any kind of state aid, which is also why other states often require that the director has a master's in library science degree in order to be eligible for any of this aid. So they put a lot more stipulations on staffing and education levels and than we do here. So I think there's some good and bad with that. But I think having that state aid makes a big difference.
Sorry, Jenny. So I used to know the number of states that do not have a either county or regional system that are standalone libraries. I don't remember it off the top of my head anymore, but it's more common in some of the Western states and in New England. The other thing that is different about Maine from many other states, and again, I don't know the exact number, is that we have so many nonprofit libraries. Most libraries across the country are municipal departments, and that maybe has some negative impact. But anyway, it's a difference, and it would be interesting. I hadn't thought about it until someone asked that question about the difference between municipal and nonprofit library turnover. But that's another thing that is, when I came to Maine, those two things really hit home to me in terms of library capacity, that you're all standalone libraries, and that it's just almost 50-50 nonprofit and municipals. But Jenna, to your question, ALA tracks that, so I'll see if I can pull that up and either while we're meeting or post it later. Okay, I think we're caught up on questions. So, Parker, I'm looking at the time. Do we have time to ask a couple questions, or should we move into because we've had discussion via the questions we've had already, I guess, right?
Yeah, so we are, 1 minute away from where we had planned to jump into the MLAC portion with the technical troubles at the start. I think we've got 5 more minutes for questions if you've got them prepared.
Sure. Okay. So I'm going to ask two different questions then, and we'll see how we go. One is about the impact of this high turnover. And so throwing it open, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand. So what happens in your library and or in your community when the director leaves? What is the impact of the director on your library, of the director turnover on your library? Any thoughts there? Even if you haven't experienced it, you can, throw your opinion out. What is the impact of director turnover? More stress on staff. For libraries with one staff member, significant loss of institutional memory. Yep, there we go. Loss of institutional knowledge if the turnover is staff as well. That's true. Mm-hmm. Something I think about a lot is the impact of library services also. Any other thoughts? Work is often distributed differently or lags behind while everyone is trained up again. Slow response of the board to our last director's notice was very stressful. Oh, for our small community and the staff. Yeah, so taking a long time to replace the director. For those with one staff member, impact on services as the new person learns everything. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So the last question that I'll ask is more about identifying solutions to this challenge. I mean, that's something in library development we talk about all the time. We've talked about a little bit on some of our listening tour this fall, but I think putting a question out to the group, what kind of support would help new or struggling directors, either from the state or peer-to-peer or in general? Just kind of brainstorm a little bit about what kind of support you think might be useful. I guess another way to look at it, is when you came into the position, if you're a director, how did you best feel supported? What helped you? What has helped you stay in the position, I guess? And you can put it in the chat or unmute. Peer-to-peer introductions guide for contacts on who can answer questions for similar library composition. Thank you. New Director Academy. Onboarding. Access to state consultants. Thank you. New Director Orientation. List of passwords and accounts. I'm sorry, that's not really funny, but yeah. Zoom from MSL and Deb Clark. Great. Well, I guess keep those things coming. You can keep doing that. I don't want to use up too much of the MLAC meeting time. So it's very helpful to see these. So I guess keep them coming while I turn it back over to Parker. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Marika, and especially thank you, Jenny, for that presentation. Learned a lot, and I hope that this is the start of a discussion that we can continue to work away on this, because it does have a big impact, especially on small rural libraries. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to move into the MLAC section of it, where we're going to get a little bit more formal with doing our minutes and discussing how our council can address some of the things that Jenny spoke about. If you're interested, you're more than welcome to stick around. It's not required. So for all of you guests, thank you for attending today. And we are going to transition into the MLAC side of things. And as people filter out, I'll be able to see exactly which reps we have here today. All right, so just somewhat of a roll call here. I am seeing Paul and Becky. Becky, excellent to have you aboard. And I know we've heard from Sarah of Lithgow that she can't be here, and Kelly, one of our new members, cannot as well. Am I missing anybody?
And Heidi was unable to come.
Heidi was going to
last
be
minute.
unable to. Oh, Michael, you're there too. Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. I see. For some reason, I'm not seeing Paul on the. Did Paul drop? No, he's in the member list. I might be having a technical issue of my own here. I can see folks in the participant window, but not in the camera window.
Yeah, Paul's listed.
I see him.
I'm
All
here.
right, so oh, you're there, yes. Who else? I guess just because I'm having a hard time with it. Do we have any other MLAC reps other than Becky, Paul, and Michael here? We may not, which is tricky because we won't have a quorum. But that's also okay. We can still move forward a bit. All right, so I'm going to share my screen for a moment. Not yet, okay. That's the agenda, okay. There we go. So I've got what we're going to be our minutes here. Normally, we would elect a secretary here to take minutes. To be honest, even though I should know, I'm not quite sure how we proceed this portion without a quorum. Paul, I always feel like I call on you on these sorts of things. Would we still proceed with a secretary, or do you think that we are okay to, I don't know, postpone that part of this meeting and just have an informal talk?
So my experience is more on the municipal side of things, where we're an advisory board. It's not quite as important. I think my guess is that technically we can't meet because we don't have a quorum.
Okay, yeah.
So we can I don't know that anyone is going to have a huge problem if we just happen to talk about some things.
Okay.
But we can't take any sort of official business, certainly.
All right. Well, I mean, that works well enough because we do have Michael and Becky here. And so again, really thank you for stepping up. We are, I feel, going to be doing some very good work this term. as we're calling it. And so, as you may be aware, you have been elected here now for a 3-year term of service for your region. Now we are just in the 3 regions. We used to have the 9. One thing that we will be working on following this meeting is setting up an orientation session, one that all 3 of you can join. Kelly, again, couldn't be here, which will just sort of be going over how we handle our meetings at MLAC, the cadence of our meetings, and that sort of thing. Now, one thing in particular that I wanted to talk about was how we as a council can help facilitate what Jenny and Marika have sort of presented here today with this director turnover issue. I think clearly it's one that is on the minds of a lot of people across the state. We had a lot of people in the meeting attend. We had a lot of folks register who hopefully we'll be able to send out that recording to. And I think it presents a good opportunity for us to focus our work on. And as Paul said, we're really just an advisory board, so we can't, our agency is limited outside of giving it advice, but that's still useful. One of my hopes is to take that topic that we've been talking about here today, the director turnover issue, and help that be a focal point for the regional meetings that we're going to be having early next year. So generally speaking, we have 4 MLAC meetings every year, and then 2 regional meetings that we put on where we gather our regional libraries together and talk about a subject. We haven't necessarily had a formal plan of that in the past. Paul has put together some wonderful revisions of our bylaws that sort of outline how that happens. And that 2 meeting, I think we pulled that 2 regional meetings a year out of the benchmark work that we did. So if you're Becky and Michael, if you're not familiar with them, the State Library has some benchmarks that MLAC helped refine. And in that, I think one of the asks is that libraries have a representative at regional meetings twice a year. And so we try to pair up with that. And so I guess, I've been talking a lot. So I probably should have started by asking, Becky and Michael to introduce yourselves a little bit. So we have your bio, and I'll just go in alphabetical order there. Becky, are you able to turn your mic? There you go, and just tell us who you are.
Yeah, hi, Becky Steenberg, moved to Maine almost 2 years ago, it'll be 2 years in January, from Colorado. Just looking for a change of scenery.
Mhm.
And my husband works from home, so we decided Maine was the place to go. So I just finished my MLIS. I'm graduating in December, but I'm all done with my work. Yay!
I'm curious, where are you getting your degree from?
San Jose State.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. They're affordable and they give you up to 7 years, which
Mhm.
it only took me 2.5. But I didn't want to get in a program where that's your commitment. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, excited about that. I'm gonna fly out and walk for graduation and stuff. But
Oh, wonderful.
yeah, but in the meantime, they had posted part-time here at Falmouth, and so I got that job. And in youth services, that was my thing. I was the children's librarian in Colorado, in Alamosa by the sand dunes, if you're familiar with the sand dunes. And I did that for 6 years on a part-time basis, but I was in charge of all of children's, of course, 0 through 18. But then we moved up to the Denver area for a few years, and I didn't get a library job there. So when I had the opportunity, I decided to go back to school, and then we came here. So yeah, I started in January part-time, and then a full-time position came open in youth services. So they gave that to me. And so, yeah,
Well,
here I
excellent.
am.
Well, we're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
And I think one of the standard pejoratives you'll hear Mainers use from people from away is Flatlander, and being from Colorado, we can't really call you that.
Nope.
All right, and so then we also have Michael, if you're still there.
Can I just break in for a
Oh,
second?
yes, Paul.
I just want to go back to something. So are Becky and Michael official members or not?
They are. They have been elected.
So is Mike still on the board or is he gone now?
Mike is for one more year, I believe. Yes.
Okay, so do we not have don't we have a quorum? If it between you, me, and those three?
Did I not? It's possible that I counted wrong. So was it because I'm not counting myself? That's why I didn't count
Yeah,
myself.
you should be. You count. You really do count.
Thank you. All right, so yeah, we do have a quorum. All right. Well, normally I wouldn't have myself be the secretary, but I'll volunteer here. I don't think I'm supposed to be able to. And we're not going to decide on anything important, but that way we can at least put that in there.
I don't mind
So-
being secretary for
Oh,
the
you don't
day
mind being
if you'd like to.
secretary?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so let me put my minutes here in the chat. If you don't, oh. There we go. You should have access to that, Paul. And so,
Great.
speaking of access, Marika, if you are able to get Becky and Michael and Kelly set up in our shared drive.
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
I can. So, I probably have it, but since Becky and Michael, you're here, can you just put your emails in the chat?
Oh, I can do even better. I've got them all typed out here. So let me just
Oh,
paste
okay.
that. There you go.
That's-
They're in the chat.
That's better.
Okay.
Yeah. Every time I tried to type in the chat, it was entering after every letter. So I couldn't.
Okay, I
So
saw
I
that
stopped. I
happening,
stopped
yeah.
trying.
All right. Really. Thank you, Paul.
Sure.
So, one thing that yeah, I always apologize, Paul, for leaning on you for rules of order, which I really should know. Our bylaw changes, we've had them published for a while and they've sort of been hanging there. I don't think we need more than a quorum to approve them. I don't think that's in there.
Did the bylaw changes? I'm not sure we included in those bylaw changes the more recent. Did those changes to since we have gone down to 3 make it in there?
Let me take a look. It didn't. You're right. So your changes were prior to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those will probably once again need to be updated. I guess the reason that it's on my mind is we had that roster issue that the bylaw changes were supposed to fix. And this may be our last meeting prior to the end of the year. Have you heard anything else on that, Marika? No?
No, but you're right. I usually have to do the report. I feel like it is December. It's either December or January. Yeah. Yep. And
Okay.
I think she just, which is maybe okay. I think she just gave up on us
Oh, no.
this year because I know I told her what we were doing and she didn't say one way or the
Okay.
other. So, so maybe we can right the ship now that with the new bylaws and everything. Yeah.
To be clear, just so I'm on the same page, did the commission officially approve those changes?
So the commission doesn't approve our bylaws. Is
The
that
regional changes.
Oh. The regional changes, yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
because that was I think what we were
Sorry.
waiting for that. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. And so Parker, I'm sorry. Did I misunderstand? You were asking about the state board that approves our or doesn't approve our roster, but lists our roster, right?
Yeah, my
That's
line of inquiry was sort
Yeah,
of focused on if we were if we were to ask Paul to update our bylaws again so that it accommodates the 3 regions, how much, pressure do we have on getting that voted on by the end of the year?
Oh, I see. Don't think a lot of pressure,
Okay, good. So
but
then,
yeah.
And that being said, Paul, is that a change that you'd be willing to go through and make?
Sure.
Okay, excellent. I wouldn't suspect that it's much, just referring to changing how how those regions are broken up. Anything else, Paul, before I ask Michael to introduce himself? All right. So Michael, if you're still there, who are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. So I'm Michael Stanley, and I work at the Bailey Public Library as the adult and technology librarian. I've lived in Maine most of my life, but I just moved back up here a few years ago after finishing my undergrad. I also finished my master's at San Jose State. So I finished that up about like 2 or 3 years ago. But this is my first like professional library job after grad school. But I've been working in public and academic libraries for about like the past 10 years. But I'm really excited to be joining the team.
Excellent. Well, we're very happy to have you. And you worked with Sarah, correct? She's the one that.
I did, yeah. I worked at Lithgow as like the teen librarian a few years ago.
Okay, yeah. All right. And so one of the things that I was hoping to do today was sort of lay out what was going to be what I would like to have us work on through the upcoming year. So again, we will have between today and whenever our next fall meeting is, we're going to have 4 meetings or 3 meetings, and then 2 in-person regional get-togethers. And I'm hoping at this point, sort of early on in that process, to set some focus for what we're going to be doing moving on. And it was my thought that what Jenny presented today is a wonderful focal point for us. Again, we don't make rules, we're just an advisory board, but we are well situated to get like qualitative feedback from the communities that we represent. To that end, I'm hoping to form a subcommittee on this topic that would prepare some sort of document that when we move into having our regional meetings, we can sort of follow a game plan of gathering some feedback that we could then provide to the state library as to what we're seeing in terms of reasons that libraries in our region have experienced director turnover, the effects that they felt, and that sort of thing. But to do that, I need somebody who would be willing to sort of spearhead that. I'd be able to give my full support. I just don't think that as a chair, I don't think that I can be a chair and then chair of a subcommittee, but I'll be a member of it and help go through that. Is that something that either Becky or Michael, that you would be willing to help out with what we talked about today? If not,
yeah,
that's okay.
that's something I could help out with. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, wonderful. So it really shouldn't be too much of a commitment level. What I will do is I will reach out to the rest of the group, and I might actually, because we can have non-MLAC members on our subcommittees, we have sort of this meeting fresh in the minds of folks. So we can create that subcommittee, and I should know whether or not we need to vote to create it. I think it's just me as chair gets to do it. I'm going to take a really quick look there. Is it in this one? There's the one that Paul put together. Maybe it's just committee. Yeah, so that's me. I appoint committee chairs as needed. There we go. There we go. Yeah, with advice and consent of the council. So I think consent means that we don't have to vote. You just have to sort of say that it's okay. So Michael, I'm going to appoint you ahead of a committee on director turnover, and we will work on finding some other members who can talk about that we will create a plan for some regional meeting, sort of questions or questionnaires, or give some guidance to the other representatives that are going to be hosting one of those here in the spring, and go forward from there. And again, thank you very much, Michael. Oh, and he headed out. Thank you. All right. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to say here? All right. I'm always willing to chat, so I tend to stumble through these. And so always feel free to interrupt me here. So we will, I will work on helping Michael set up that subcommittee, and also work on an orientation schedule. So Becky, have you ever used Doodle before? Is that a familiar tool for you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will send out a Doodle poll. My hope is that Christy Kilfoyle, our vice chair, will be able to attend that as well. And that will be, we'll go over the drive, the resources, that sort of thing. And sort of teach you what it's like to be an MLAC representative. And we are still a relatively young organization. We've only been around for 6 years now, I think. I'm now going into my 2nd year, so I've only got a year behind me. And so it's a learning experience, but I think we're doing some good stuff. I'm very happy with the bylaws, the work that we did. And I think that working on this director turnover issue will be helpful too.
Great. Yeah.
That being said, we lost Michael, so we no longer have a quorum. So I don't think we can necessarily, I guess, vote to adjourn the meeting. Again, this one has been a little bit less formal than normal. We had, as mentioned, a few people have to not be able to attend at the last minute there. Anything from you state library folks before we close out?
Just really quickly, and I guess if you send an email out with some of this information, Parker, I can chime onto it. But we have a partner meeting coming up on December 4th. I was trying to look. And it's going to be virtual. Let me just make sure it's December 4th. Yes, at 3, and I'll send Becky to you and to the other new folk the Zoom information. But maybe in the orientation we can fill you in a little bit more. But we pulled together MLAC, the ARC libraries, and the School Library Association, and a person that represents the small and rural libraries from the Library Association, the Public Library, well, it's not Public Library Association, the Maine Library Association, and state library folk. And we were just meeting to talk about how we can all work more collaboratively together to support libraries. So we met in the summer, and we're having a follow-up meeting. Again, it's December 4th at 3 to 4. And I understand that, if you have a conflict, that's fine. But I did want to put that on the radar since it's coming up sooner than I thought.
It's coming up soon, huh?
Yeah. But I'll send out the Zoom info and everything. I think that's it.
And I had one quick question for you, Marika, and it could probably be an email. A while back, I had asked about how other states' advisory councils operate, and you had said that you had like a development group that you attend.
Yes, and I will ask because I've either forgot to ask or I don't remember what the results were. So let me do that.
Absolutely. I get the feeling a lot of the ones that I have looked into, like one of the primary purposes that organizations like ours exist is to advise on distribution of LSTA funds, which obviously have not been not happening anymore. And so I get the feeling that a lot of other advisory boards are kind of in flux at the moment as well. So I am very curious as to what they're doing. So.
Yeah. I'll do that. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're good. Well, thank you all. This has been a little bit haphazard. I will be in touch about that orientation. Marika will be in touch about the library partner meeting. Paul will once again work on our bylaws as we catch up to try to approve them. And thank you everybody for being here, especially you new folk.